Good Erev Shabbos, Parshas Bamidbar, Shabbos Mevarchim. A Yom Yerushalayim Sameach. Welcome to the Pre-Shabbos Drasha. We're going to be focusing on the fifth part of the series, Reconnecting to Our Shuls. Over the last 4 drashas, we've looked at different aspects of the shul. We looked at the Aron HaKodesh, the Ner Tamid, the Bima, the windows, and finally today, our focus is going to be on the central part that brings it all together, and that is the Siddur itself. We're going to look at that in just a moment, but before we start, a few special announcements this coming week. We take a moment to wish a mazel tov to Dr. Debbie and Abby Dienstag upon the birth of a grandson to Rivka and Yechiel Lieberman. Be'ezras Hashem, he should enter Bevrisoy Shel Avram Avinu, and he should do you proud, do our Kodesh Baruch Hu proud, and Emes Hashem make a lasting impact in this world. We wish a very special mazel tov to Malka and Dave Friedman, also upon the birth of a grandson to Dina and David Gad. Be'ezras Hashem, he should bring you so much nachas. He should enter B'risa Shel Avram Avinu be'itoi uvizmanoi, and be grabbed to be a true Ben Torah l'shem u'tiferes. Just this morning, we extend our condolences to Dr. Adina Saperstein upon the loss of her beloved mother, Mrs. or Rebbetzin Fega Bernstein, a tremendous individual, a person who I have utmost respect for, and also looking at the Tze'etza'im, at the progeny, at the incredible children and grandchildren, now great-grandchildren, that she raised and inspired. God willing, her memory should always be a blessing, and the family should always have smachos to celebrate. As we move into this week, there are a lot of exciting things going on, and one of them is Shavuos. And although it's very disappointing that we can't be in shul right now, we, as following the halachic guidance of the OU and the poskim, which we turn to for all other aspects of life, whether it be as simple as a kashrus shaila to the OU, or whether it be a life and death shaila, these are the poskim we follow, and we proudly continue to follow them as we engage in this next step, as we wait these 2 weeks before we start, God willing, at Ma'ariv on June 3rd, as we all start together, all the shuls who follow the OU. That being the case, Shavuos will be coming to everybody. So please, if you'd like to be involved, please let me know. Please reach out to our committees as we put together the most incredible Shavuos box, which will be coming to your home. It's going to be a Shavuos to remember, perhaps differently than we expected, but absolutely one to remember. Looking forward to joining everybody individually on that. In the meantime, let's focus on the issue at hand, the Siddur. The fifth part of this series is the Siddur. The Siddur is something which is so vast, so big, so unfathomable to a certain degree. It's hard to even know where to start, which is why I'd like to invite you back on Sunday morning to the last shiur on the series about the origins of the Siddur, how the Siddur came to be itself. For now, I'd like to focus on one short idea, and that is that in our shul, we have many different Siddurim, and there are many different Siddurim in history. This particular Siddur is the RCA Siddur, and this is the previous version of the RCA Siddur done with Art Scroll. I'd like to just share potentially a beautiful idea in the introduction of this Siddur, which was edited by Rabbi Saul Berman. And it's a very, very beautiful suggestion. I think it changed the way I daven, and I would hope that it would yours as well, change your davening. There is an author by the name of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yehuda Roikeach. He wrote a sefer called Sefer HaRokeach in the late 1100s, and he notes the following fascinating insight. And that is that when we take those 3 steps forward to our Amidah, as we're about to enter into our Shmona Esrei, those 3 steps forward we take are as a function of the 3 times in all of Tanakh that it talks about a person coming closer. Vayigash. 3 times in Tanakh does it describe Vayigash, and each of those 3 steps represents one of a different way to come close to the Ribbon Shalom, to the Almighty. Who are those 3 people who came close? Well, we don't have to look too far. One is obvious, the other 2 less so. The first episode chronologically is when Avraham Avinu himself comes close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. beginning of Parshas Vayera. He hears about the calamity that's about to befall the cities of the plain. He hears about Sodom's imminent destruction, and it says, Vayigash. Avram Avinu comes in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and petitions for the justice of those people. And if you think about it, if we ask two questions, who is he praying for, and based on what value, what quality, it's fascinating. Who is he praying for? Is he praying for his family, his brethren? Not at all. He's praying for strangers who are not even deserving of the prayers themselves. We're talking about people who are so evil that as it goes, the Tanakh goes on to describe, the Torah describes that Kol ha'ami kotzeh, everybody surrounds Lot's house to try to kill these visitors. Pretty decrepit people. Avram Avinu is praying for them that they should be saved, maybe on the license, maybe on the credit of those around them. Based on what value? Says Avram Avinu, Hashofet kol ha'oretz lo yaseh mishpat. Justice. It's not just that everybody should die. Maybe they have some credit because of their neighbors. Avram Avinu is praying for those outside of his faith, outside of his family, outside of his sphere of influence, based on the value of justice. Let's move into the second Vayigash, the second step forward we take. The next Vayigash is famously actually the name of a parasha. Vayigash Elov Yehuda, Yehuda approaches him. Now it's not man before God, it is man before brother or subject before ruler. And if you think about it, who is he praying for? Yes, it's his brother. It's no longer an outsider. But it's not just his brother. It's the commitment he made to his father that he would bring his brother back. This is about the posterity of his family that is at stake. Based on what value? Not justice now. Justice won't work. Because from Yehuda's perspective at this point in time, all things added up, Binyamin could actually be a thief. The cup was found in his backpack after all. What he begs for at this point in time is now mercy. Justice is not working, not by Avram Avinu, but now he begs for mercy. Unlike Avram Avinu praying for the world, Yehuda is now praying for the family. And the value he asks for is mercy. And this leads us to the third and final Vayigash, the third step we take as we approach Hashem. And that is Vayigash Eliyahu. Eliyahu at Mount Carmel, as we're told in Sefer Melachim, one of the most remarkable episodes in all of history, where Eliyahu has a showdown with the prophets of Baal. He brings them to a showdown under the rule of King Achav, and he allows them to essentially have, we'll call it a theological duel. He says, we'll bring our korban, each, you bring your korban, I'll bring my korban, and whoever God accepts as the worthy korban will be the one who is ultimately true. He allows the prophets of Baal to go first, and they try and they self-mutilate and they call out, and there's no response. Their korban is not accepted. Nothing happens. And in Vayigash Eliyahu, then Eliyahu comes. The third time the idea of Vayigash, of coming close, arrives. And he prays to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, do a miracle. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, show these people who is the true God. And that's when ultimately the fire comes down and burns and incinerates the water-laden korban, which has a trough around it filled with water, and everybody falls upon their faces in prostration and calls out, Hashem Hu Elokim, the words we say at the end of the Yom Kippur service, taken from this very episode. It's fascinating. Think about this for a moment. Who, on behalf of whom, is Eliyahu petitioning? Who is he praying for ultimately? Now, on the one hand, it's his own stake. On the one hand, it's his own credence, which is on the line. But more than that, he's not. That's tangential. He is ultimately praying on behalf of not the outsiders, not his family, but Hashem himself. Hashem, show the world that you are king. Desist all these troublemakers. Stop these people from showing their farce. Allow yourself to be recognized in the world. And now what's the value? Not justice, not mercy, but ultimately, argues Rabbi Berman, Gilui Shechina, the value of your immanence in this world. Let the world see you. And what the Sefer HaRokach says is that every time we take those 3 steps forward, as we approach HaKadosh Baruch Hu every Shemona Esrei, we are modeling each of those 3 ideas, those 3 historical moments in history. The moment where we think about other people, the world around us, those we don't know, those who are undeserving, based on what? Maybe justice. Then we think, as we take the next step, about Yehuda as he thinks about his family, those closest to him, those he's committed to, his word, based on his responsibility towards his own family, even though the situation is untoward, based on mercy. And finally, as we take the third step in to our Amidah, to our Shemona Esrei, we realize that it's not just the outsiders, it's not just the family. It's not the outer sphere, not the inner sphere. It's ultimately on behalf of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, allow yourself to be seen in this world. Allow us to be the vehicles of displaying your relevance, your presence, your justice and mercy in this world. And so far from it just being a simple ritual of shuffling, this is the notion of coming close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in each of these three dimensions. What a powerful expression, what a powerful idea as we hold all of Jewish history in those three steps. I look forward to joining you together on Sunday to now look at a little bit of the history of the Siddur. Let's take a few steps backwards now and appreciate where the Siddur came from and why it is so important in our lives. In the meantime, have a wonderful, meaningful, and uplifting Shabbos.